Okay, so hello guys. Today we will be understanding how we can create a student record with the help of linked list. But we will be doing it using C language. Since C language does not have the feature of creating classes, we will be using structs uh, for creating a node. Okay. So first of all, I need you to understand this output of this program, how it will be. Suppose we want to specify that our linked list has two nodes. Okay, this one node and this another node. So I will just tell you the outline of our linked list. So the first linked list, as we know, the address part, the next pointer will be pointing to the next linked list, and this next pointer will be pointing to null. That's the theory of linked list. That the last node of the linked list, the next pointer of the last node of the linked list points to null, and while any other node, the next pointer points to the next node. Okay, that's why it's called a next pointer. And what will the data part contain? The data part will contain this whole thing. It will not contain some integer, it will not contain some string value. This will it will contain this whole thing. Okay, along with this grade, as you could see. Okay, the grade C, here the grade is C, and there is no space between C and marks. Here also the grade is O. Okay, so that's how it will become. Okay, and grade C like in grade O. Okay, so what happens here is, like, we are asking the user, like, each node will represent the details of a student, and the details of the student includes the roll number of the student, first name, it's his department or her department, marks in 3 subjects. Okay, and it will also contain the grade, and that grade will be evaluated with the help of if else condition, which we will be evaluating during the code. Okay, so now let's see the coding part, and I will delete these doodles. Okay, so in case you want to type along, I didn't want to waste too much time, so I already wrote the code so that I could test it out first. So I will tell you step by step so that you could use it for if you are typing along. Okay, so first of all, I would like you to remove your focus from here, 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 and here, and here. You need nothing, you need to know nothing of that. Okay, so my main function contains my main block contains 2 functions. One which will be creating the list, where the user will be entering the data in the list. Traverse function is basically just the print function, cause it includes traversing throughout the list, so it will just print the list here, like this part. Okay, now what I will do in the input details, okay, so first of all, to create a list we need to create a node, because list consists of node. And what did I say? For the data part of the node will contain the details of the student, will contain the details of the student, like this whole thing. Okay, and the next pointer, as we know, will point to the next node. So for this data part, what we need to do, we will create our own data type, a user defined data type, by using struct and type def. So type def is nothing, type def is like a simple structure only. The difference is that you can give your own name to this data type. Like suppose I gave my own name node, and I created my own data type called node. Okay, now this node data type contains two things. Details data means the a data means a variable of data type details. Now this details is this structure which contains these things. So details is another data type created by me, which contains the roll number, name, department, marks, and grade. So this is a data type created by me, and each node will contain a variable of this data type, which contains all of these things, and also a next pointer. Now in node, it's really important that the next pointer, since it's pointing to the address of the another node. So see, if there is an integer which points to another integer, then the data type of that pointer is int star. So there is a pointer which points to another node of the same type, then the pointer should also be this. Now why I am not using this node here, because since I'm using the type def, so I could have used it here, because the name of the type def was not defined yet till line number 54. It was defined till line number 55. So after line number 55 you might be seeing me using this node with capital N as the data type to define any node. But before that I needed to use like a normal way of creating a structure variable, which is to write struct and the name of the structure and then a normal structure variable. So the structure variable will be a pointer of this data type, which will be pointing to another structure like this one. Okay, I hope that it's clear all till here, or you can slow down the video or go back. So I'm explaining it very clearly. Okay, now next thing what I did, since now I have defined a node, but I have not inserted anything yet. These all things, and I have created a node, and I have specified that this will contain a variable of data type details, and that details is a structure which will contains all these things. Okay, and this will contain the address of the next node. Okay, this will contain the address of the next node. Now, since I do not have any node yet, I will make my head pointer point at null. Okay, so my head pointer is pointing at null. Okay, okay, so sorry for that weird cut there. Okay, so next what we will be doing is that now I implemented a function called create list. Okay, so what's happening here is that currently we are assigning this head as a global variable, means it can be accessed by all the functions after it's declared. Like in the line number 57 I declared it, so it can be accessed by create list function and the traverse list function. Okay, so basically what the head means that the it's the first number of the node. Okay, it's the first member of the node and it's been called as head. Okay, so currently we don't have any node yet, but now since we will be creating a list, so first we will be creating a node. So I will be using insert at tail method, means that first this node will be suppose my details, like my Anuj, I am Anuj, so the details of mine will be stored first, and after that the details of my friend Rahul will be stored. Okay, my details of my friend Rahul will be stored. Okay, and from here, not from here, that's insert at head. But still I'm using the head pointer. I will tell you how, because this program you can use it when you need to create an employee record, because most of the questions comes like that. So I will tell you my logic. It's quite simple. Okay, so the very first thing and the most important thing whenever you insert a tail is to always suppose you want to insert n elements. Simply, so what you have to do in array, what you did, you made a loop from I is equal to 0 and I to n, and simply, so this loop ran n times. Okay, 0 to n means n times now, because if even if it's one less, it's running starting from 0 to n times. Okay, similarly, but here I want you to run the loop n minus 1 time, and that one element which we are not taking inside the loop, I want you to take it first separately before starting the loop, so that we will get a node first, and using its next pointer we will be we will be inserting the other elements. So that's what I did here. I asked the details of student 1 separately here, and then I implemented the loop from the second position. So since linked list doesn't have an index, you can have index from 1. Okay, just close my WhatsApp here. Okay, nice. So you can have index from 1. Suppose in the first linked list I inserted it separately, so I wanted to insert it from 2 up to n. I'm using the equal to sign here since I was not starting with 0. Okay, so here I doesn't represent any index. In array I represented an index. Okay, so we can start it from 1 here, but it's your convenience. You can start it from 0 or 0, and you can remove the equal to sign here. Okay, you can do that also. So now what I insert a node, of course I will take how many number of students or how many number of nodes I need. So I will say n, and if it's only if it's not equal to 0, suppose some user is a mischievous user, if he entered 0, so then these things will not happen. Okay, this step is optional, but I recommend you to do that because that was giving me some weird outputs, okay, which I couldn't explain. Okay, so inside that, what I will take, I will create I will define a data type, or I will define a variable d of data type details. So I hope you have now understood what is my data type details here. Okay, so this is my data type details which are containing this. So I am defining a variable d which is containing all of these data. Okay, then I am creating a new node which I will be using every time to insert it in my linked list, and I am creating a temp node which I will be using for traversing, even to input in each index of the which I will be using to point at the next node. Okay. Mhm. So what will happen here? Okay, so basically, so first I will be creating a new node. So that's how you create a new node in C language. Simply you define a new node, and inside that we use memory allocation, and to use this you need to import stdlib.h in your program. Okay, so remember that. So inside that, what I will be doing, I will be assigning how much space, the size of my structure node, whatever the size of this structure node here will be the size of this new node. Simply, it's as simple as that. Every time we are creating a new node, we are doing that only. Even inside the loop, you could notice that here. Okay, so every time, because first new node gets entered in the list, again we create a new node using this statement. Okay, so what I said in my procedure, I will take the first node of my linked list separately, so that I could get a next pointer using which I will be able to insert the rest of the nodes. Okay, understand this line, go through this line every time, go to this part of the video every time, going back and rewinding it, and understand this part completely. We will take the first node separately, because the user won't understand the whatever happened here. I will say enter the details of student 1, and then using this I loop I will say enter the details of student 2. The user doesn't care what happened in between these two printf statements. Okay, the user doesn't care, he will simply get a continuous messages of inputting data. Okay, so since if my each node of my linked list would have contained an integer, I would have simply written scanf, and then inside this it would have been int d. Okay, and it would have been scanf percentage d, and I would have taken it in d, and in the data part of the new node I would have inserted it. But since this is each node doesn't contain an integer or a predefined data type, it contains a data type which is defined by us, details. So the input method also needs to be defined by us. Okay, so I created my own input function, input details. On passing, all we need to do is to pass the address of this variable we have created here. Okay, so since this is an address, so what type of what type of argument will this be? Suppose if we pass the address of a integer to a function, it gets received in a int star variable. So since we are passing the address of a function of a variable of this data type, we are creating detail star data type. Okay, and inside this I am creating the I am entering the names using this arrow pointer. All you need is you have this pointer here. Suppose if you are taking a integer, you need to specify this percentage sign, then the variable you have defined here, then this arrow operator, and the member of the structure in which you want to take the input. Okay, easy. And then what you need to do, if it's not an integer, if it's an like a string or a character array, then you don't need to specify the percentage sign. Again, I am taking an integer here, I am taking a marks of 3 subjects here, so I am using this percentage sign here. Okay, I hope you could see here. Okay, as easy as that. And using the marks of these subjects, I'm calculating the grade. Suppose if the grade is, so again to access that I will have to use this pointer variable I have created using this arrow operator. So I will have to use that, and if the marks is below 50, I will assign the grade part of this structure to f. Since I'm not taking input, no need. This is also integer, and this is also character. But since we are grade will be of a character because it will contain a letter. So, but since we are not taking any input, you don't need to specify any percentage sign. Okay, so grade will contain f if the marks is less than 50. If the marks part of that structure which we have just taken input is less than 50. Similarly, among the, we will assign f, d, c, b, a, and o. Okay, so that's how we do that. Okay, don't criticize me for missing out e here. Just understand the logic part here. Okay, so as I said, if this would have been an integer, if the data part of that node, the data part of our node would have been an integer, we would have easily said int d here and used scanf to input the number inside this d and pass it to the data part of the head node. But since the data type details is defined by us, we defined our own input method which we just saw. Now this data type which we entered here, the first element which we entered here, will now get passed to this head node. Okay, they will now get passed to this head node. Okay, which will contain the details of the first child. Okay, so I will say, just say details 1. Okay, I'm really sorry for my handwriting. So this head node we have now, we have got a linked list which contains one node, which is, since it is only one node, that's our tail and that's our head also. So simply what we will do, we will have the details part of, we'll have the details of the first student, and then inside this it will have a next pointer which will be pointing to null. For now it will be pointing to null since there is no node ahead of it. Okay, now after creating the first node, we will say, since we have created the first node, we will start the loop from 2 up till I am giving the equal to sign here. Take note, I am giving the equal to sign here since I have started with 1. If I would have started with 0, I would have just written less than n like I did in array. You can do that also. Okay, so now since in the first suppose in the first position our details had been entered, we need to take input in one less node, so I am starting this with 2. Okay, as easy as that. Now again for each iteration I will be creating a new node. I will be assigning the same type to a new node because I will be assigning the same memory to the new node. Now as you could see in line number 70, I have copied the node to another node called temp. This temp is not part of our linked list yet, but it's like a temporary variable to save the data so that our original data doesn't get altered. If I would have used head here to iterate, then my head would have been altered, but I want my head pointer to always point at the first position, so I cannot alter it. So what I did, I just copied it in a temporary variable and I will be using it and I will be tampering it to traverse through my linked list so that I can input in each and I will create node in each and different positions. I will do that. Okay, so now this temp, the next part of this temp will contain the address which was contained in the next part of the head, since this temp is a copy of head. Okay, so in that next part we will be adding this new node. Okay, we will be adding this new node. Now what we will do, we will to enter the new node, we will simply again call our, we will say enter the details of student %d, and %d will give me 1. That's why I started with 2, because it will be convenient for the user to understand these positions. Okay, I gave 1 here, and then apart from 2 the loop will keep on displaying with 2, then 3. Okay, then using the method which I have created to enter details, it will take details in that data, and then what will happen, the since this new node was this, suppose this is our head pointer, in the next part this new node will get inserted. Okay, so temp of next contains the address which was contained in the next pointer here, so it will automatically get, this new node will automatically get inserted to the next pointer of the head node. And again what will happen here, the data part will come here. Okay, the data part from here, the input details which we have details, the details of the student 2 will come here, and this temp pointer which was pointing here, now I will point it to the next pointer of the next node. So for the next iteration our temp pointer will be pointing here. Suppose if I had to create the third node, the temp pointer will insert that new node to the next pointer of this second node. Okay, as easy as that. So the code will be attached and you could see the iterations here, or if you can follow along you can do that. Okay, so next, this is not traverse. I called it traverse because we are traversing, but it will be better to call it display. This is our display function. I will make the changes in the main as well. Say display. It's more convenient for you to understand. Okay, so this display function will do nothing. Okay, this display function will do nothing. It will just print the linked list. So for printing the linked list also we will be needing to traverse. So again we will create a temporary variable. And one more thing, you can create this struct node. Instead of this struct node I can just say node, because I specified the name of this data type, this structure, as my own, and I created my own data type here, node. As you could see, this was a structure, this was a node structure. I just created this name of the data type. Here I use this because since before in line number 55 I defined the name, I didn't define the name here, so I had to use struct node here. But in rest of the places, after I have given my own name, instead of struct node you could simply say just node with a capital N. Okay, so I have again created a temporary node here, and in that temporary node I will again be, if the head is not null already, means if the array is not empty, then only it will display, or else it will display list is empty. Okay, so what I will happen, if it's not empty, I will just pass the head node to it, so that I could use its next pointer to print each and every element and the data in each and every node. Okay, now again, if the data part of that node would have just been an integer, it would have just been an integer, I would have simply said printf, and I would have used this node and data. But since we have this data part is our own data type, we will be using our separate, we will be using our own print method, which will be taking the address of this, which will be taking the address of the data at that node. Okay, suppose the data at that particular node A, I will passing the address using this %. It will get passed to this print details, and using the arrow pointer I will be printing the details. So that's how the program runs, and so it displays the details, roll number, first name, department, marks in each subject. So I gave this n sign, so that as you could see now it's more organized here. So that's how the program runs here. Okay, suppose if I say 2 nodes, again I say Jayanth. Okay, so as you could see, if you would have seen every second, as you could see, I was getting an error like this. I was typing the name of the student, and this whole thing was coming here. So what was happening, instead of an integer, since it first asked for a roll number, I should have entered an integer here. So that's what the mistake was there. So again I'll first enter the roll number and then the name of the student, which is Jayanth. department of the student, marks in subject 1. Okay, and I will enter the name of the student 2. Again I did that same mistake, I entered the roll number first. Okay, so again I will do it. I'm sorry, you had to bear with me. 923. First name of the student Jayant. Department ECE, he belonged to the EC department. Yeah, 23 47 87. Okay, first again I will have to enter the roll number. So 133, first name of the student, which will be this, department CSE, 100 100 100. Okay, so the list is created, and as you could see, it gets printed in a really beautiful manner here. Yeah, so that's all. I hope I was able to make things clear, and I'm really sorry for the choppy experiences in between, but that's all. Thank you.